allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Mr. Douglas.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Mr. Monahan.
Here.
Supervisor Fitt.
Here.
Okay. First, I'd like to take one moment to thank Chief Moore for loaning me his glasses. I forgot my glasses, so I was going to jam up here. I'm kind of steal them. So first up on public input is Susan Pugaris.
Thank you. Susan Fulgaris, 87 Mott Farm Road. I just have one well, no I don't. I have a couple of announcements. Sorry about that. But
You almost said short, didn't you?
I almost said short and I changed my mind. On January, as Joan has pointed out to me, I did nothing but say June or July. On January 29th, next Thursday, here in this building,
22nd.
not next week, the week after,
22nd.
no, 29th, is the, what's the word? Our anniversary. It's our happy birthday, 150 years. I'm having a linguistic problem. That's the birthday party. So we're starting the committees. For those of you who would like to help us celebrate, please comment. Yes?
What was the date?
January
That's a Thursday.
29th is a Thursday.
Oh, okay, I think so.
Now I have 3 different January meetings, and Mrs. Perini is correct. And I will give you the 22nd one. But on the 29th, what we would like to do is those of you who would like to participate in our birthday, and I apologize, my linguistics will not allow me to pronounce the sesquicentennial. Okay, so please, 6 o'clock here, January 29th. Now, the next meeting, as public notice, is Spectra AIM, the 42.
What time was it on the 29th?
6 o'clock. Are they trying to like make me mess my numbers up? Please keep an eye on me. Okay. I didn't drink or anything tonight. On the 22nd, which is a Thursday, Spectra AIM 2, the 42-inch high-pressure natural gas line that will start at the Cedar Flats compressor station, come through Stony Point, cross Route 9W, go into the river, and cross over into Westchester. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission will be having hearings here. I would really like to make a presence in Stony Point. I think that these pipeline companies, some of these big concerns, realize that federal law works beautifully for them. Because all they really have to do is notice it once, and then if you miss it, well, I noticed it. So I'm going to get out there, I'm going to pound the bushes, so to speak. I would like to see Stony Point show up. It is a 42-inch, almost the same height, round, as tall as I am, high-pressure natural gas pipe. That chippy will cross in the river, in the Ramapo Fault, in front of Indian Point. Has anybody got a match? But the 22nd, January here starts at 7. Here in the community center, and you have to be careful because as Bernadette pointed out, it's confusing. It's here in the Row building. No, it's here. They use the wording, I'm not quite sure. Right, I used the same wording the notice used, and I really should have used Stony Point Line. They just,
Okay, it's here.
it was identification. So Spectra will be here on the 22nd of January, 7 o'clock. The following Thursday, it's happy birthday to Stony Point. We're going to start planning our events. For everybody who would like to come, everybody is welcome. Bring your ideas. We've got some fun, funky, even the school volunteered. They've got a marching band that I'm trying to figure out how we can march it down 9W Chief to the lighthouse. But it sounds like it's a little too far away, so. But that, it should be a lot of fun. Everybody's invited. We all need to come out and celebrate the birth of Stony Point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Frank Simeon, / Jane C. Brown, you want both, or
We wanted to speak on the Litchworth proposal, I guess that comes later.
on the Letchworth proposal?
Yes,
Yeah, we have a public hearing, so you're more than welcome to go.
thank you.
Okay, that's it on public input. Wait. Okay. Purchase order requests that are rolling around here, I want to explain a few of them. If I could just, I just want to explain a couple of them first. There's 3 emergency orders here. One is the purchase order to repair truck number 15 for the highway department, and it was also truck number 15, also truck number 11. With emergency repair as well, and then the police department, there was an auto repair emergency done by 4-star transmission as well. So that's the 3 emergencies. I just wanted everyone to know that. Just to put these on the agenda, we feel that kind of just ways to do it both ways, so we kind of put them in here, and I'll just explain. First one, environmental construction, is the hot box that is going to be put in on Letchworth site here, coming into the baseball fields, and that was approved at one of the board meetings, so that's coming in, which is something we certainly need. And the other ones are actually, we're going to be voting, this is why I really want to say, we're going to be voting on these 2 vehicles, which are budgeted items, but they're high items, so we are going to have them on the agenda as well. So just so the board knows that these are in here. So I'm going to put these 2 out, if it's okay with the board, just until we pass to get it's on the agenda. So I want to just remove these for now, just so we have no confusion, so for the board, okay?
And those were not, there was one last time, those are not the same ones.
For the car? No, these are not, no, I mean trucks, absolutely not. Yeah. And I also just wanted to mention one other thing to the board here. This is it's an old item, crystal clear pools that you put in for, this was the diving board that we had put in, but it was donated by, it was an anonymous donor donated the diving board, but this was just a few extra expenses, like some kind of electrical work and stuff, the health fees, and so I just don't want anyone to think that's what it costs. Close to that, almost $10,000. These are just the add-ons, so everyone knows. It's not a new expense, it's something old. I hope I explained myself clearly.
I move that we accept the purchase order requests.
Second?
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Order the bills. Here as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the bills as submitted. I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-1. And, I'm sorry. You want me to go back?
No, okay, that's fine.
And we have minutes from the December 9th, 2014 town board meeting. I believe we all received them.
Make a motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor's report. We do have quite a few things on the agenda here with 2 public hearings, so I'll just mention a few items. Actually, not even a few items, just a few points. Today, Joe is not in the audience, Joe Carpenter. I just wanted to mention, recognize someone. We have Joe Carpenter, Dan Ferguson. A lot of us know Dan and Barbara Ferguson from Stony Point, Tompkins Cove, actually, who've lived here forever. And most of us know who they are. And Joe, who is Barbara's dad, turned 100 years old on January 11th last week. I know they had a nice party for him, and I believe it was at Fireside, correct? They had a great time up there. We wanted Joe to come tonight, but he was a little leery coming out with the cold and the ice, but so we did send him a card, and we do have just a little recognition, a little certificate here for him, honoring celebrating his 100 years here in Stony Point. And we will be closing the meeting tonight in his honor. And I also, on a sad note, we will be closing the meeting in someone else's honor. We're talking about a 100-year-old man. We're talking about a gentleman, Mr. Ralph Goldsmith, who sadly passed away at the age of 102. He would have been 103 in July. He was one of our guest speakers at Memorial Day Parade. I believe it was about 2 years ago. I think it was his 100th birthday. And he did a great job. He got up there and just, he banged it out. He was an amazing guy and just a great Stony Pointer. And I believe, I'm almost 100% sure that he has spent his entire life here in Stony Point, growing up, right? So 102 years old. So God bless him, and we'll be closing the meeting in his honor as well tonight. So, I just wanted to also mention how successful we had a meeting on January 8th on Thursday at the Farley School. We have to thank all the staff at Farley and the School Board of Education for allowing us to hold that there. And we wanted to just let everyone know we had an informational meeting on this gasification plant. This was something that we wanted to introduce the company, New Planet Energy, introduce it to the people so we had a face for the name of the company, and come in and tell us exactly how this plant would run. Not the environmental issues and everything else. The DEC is going to be the lead agency in the secret process, so they will be answering all of the questions, all the environmental questions, and emissions and traffic and stuff like that. They'll be doing studies like that for public hearings right here in town. So we will have every opportunity going forward to have that. We will certainly announce when the public hearings are. We met with the DEC last week and made sure that they realize that we want these to be held here in town. We don't want to be going up there or anywhere else. It's very important that we have them here. And hopefully this process will go along smoothly and quickly, and we'll find out if we get a great rateable for our town and a great economic boost to our taxpayers here. So we're hoping for the best, and like I said, that we're learning along with the people of Stony Point, with the people of the community. This is not just affecting Stony Point, this would affect all of Rockland County, especially North Rockland and our school district. So we're going to be working right alongside DEC all the way through this process. We're going to answer every question we possibly can, but I just want people to realize that the other night we had to answer questions on what they were presenting that night and questions about the business itself. So I don't want anyone in the audience to think that night or tonight that we were avoiding questions or hiding anything. We just have to be very careful. We have to make sure that we follow the process and that the DEC, who we will be working very close with, will be answering every question as far as environmental concerns. So please just bear with us when we get through that. And I thought I wrote one more thing. Oh, and I just want to mention the polar plunge. Our polar plunge on Super Bowl Sunday is coming up. That's 3 weeks, so be ready to go swimming if you can do it. And there'll be music down there. I know Tom, I don't think Tom's still here, Tom Osa will be there. I know he usually gets up there and plays a little bit of the drums. And so we look forward to that. And, it's a great cause. We freeze a little bit, but we're raising money for, I believe it's 2 sick children this year. I don't have the names in front of me, so I apologize. But again, do come out and support such a great organization.
What's the date?
It's Super Bowl Sunday, whenever that is. February 2nd or 1st, I believe. February 1st. And it usually starts around noon, I believe. So you have plenty of time to get home for the game. Okay, that's all I got. Police Department report, Chief Moore.
Good evening, Supervisor, members of Town Board. Happy New Year. You should have in front of you the monthly report for the month of December. Calls for service 734. Number of reported accidents were 27. The rest were 28. We had 1,374.3 gallons of fuel use, 99 traffic summonses. We had 4 youth officer-sponsored events. Installed 2 child safety seats, ran 2 commercial vehicle enforcement details, one of them with the rest of the state and the federal government on the New York State Thruway, and we ran 3 stop DUI details. We had 48 hours of training and collected $95.50 in fees. We participated in the town tree lighting with over 300 youth and residents. We had 7 of our explorers assist in that. We had the senior brunch attended by some 280 seniors, assisted by the Stony Point PDA and 25 youth volunteers. PAL held a holiday dance at Kirkbride Hall, attended by 156 youth and assisted by 6 of our explorers. We conducted lockdown training with all school principals and assistant principals from North Rockland School District, and we continued our regular checks in schools. I have for you my time record for the month of December.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to accept the chief's assignment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, you should also have in front of you the department overtime and sick leave report for the fiscal year 2014.
Make a motion to accept the sick leave.
Second motion.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the last thing on my agenda, we have an item on the regular agenda, but just to speak to you about anticipated retirements. We spoke during the budget process. Supervisor and I have spoken regularly about this on a number of occasions. We have one of our detectives who's going to be retiring. Right now, it looks like at the beginning of March, unless an opportunity presents itself before that. We also have our communication aide, Bob Huslinger, who's put about 25 years of service in with the town, who's told me of his intentions to retire as well. So I've already started to canvass for his position and look to move forward with that, but just to bring it to the board's attention. Obviously, we'll be sitting down talking about the police retirement and the process that we normally go through on that position, but just bring it to your attention as we start meeting the year. That's what I have for that. Any questions?
I don't, but I'll make a comment. Mr. Huslinger, I believe he's 87, correct?
86,
I
87.
think he's 87. We tried to get him to stay till at least 90. I told him he was really letting us down. But I know Bob is probably the only person in town hall who beat me up the stairs at 87 years old, and he gets up there, I tell you. But I just wanted to say a few good words about him. I know the Huslinger family my whole entire life. I know Mr. Hustler. I asked him, I said, what are you going to do? You can't sit home and watch TV, because I know that's just not his style. He has a lot of plans to go visit family across the whole country, so we wish Bob the best. You couldn't ask for a nicer guy and a better employee, so we're going to certainly miss him, and we'll certainly have to have a little something special when he does leave. So I just want to say a few good words.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Golf course report? How's the rounds this week?
That was not good. I have no report this,
Thank you, Dave. Department reports, I'm assuming they've all been handed in order. And no correspondence? No correspondence. Okay, that being said, we'll go right into our public hearing for the Letchworth Village zoning amendments. And I know Max is here to address the board. Oh, you need that, Max? I'm sorry, I rolled it all the way back there.
That's okay.
Make it easy.
So I actually brought one large-scale colored copy of a graphic that I prepared, which is really just representing a cross-section. It's not very large,
I was
so
going to say, that's the large one?
so I did provide about 30 copies with Joan, if anybody would like a larger one to have. Where we are in this process is we have gone through several informal public hearings. You've asked and referred this to Rockland County Planning, the Town of Stony Point Planning Board. You've received back their recommendations. I'd like to go over those recommendations tonight. And really now where we are is at the point where we're performing a statutorily required public hearing. This is a hearing that is required by law prior to adoption. Essentially, you know, a lot of iterations of this process have proceeded so far. We started with a draft law that was developed in conference, a few of us together here, and we gave it to the town board. The town board discussed it. The town board held an informal public workshop. The public commented on it. The town board has required revisions to it. Went to the planning board. The planning board came back and has also suggested some revisions to it, most of which are in the vein of making things less rigid. For example, part of the provisions that were required had limitations on the types of hotel rooms that could be built. We wanted bigger hotels, rooms, with more amenities, more spa services, more pools, more recreation. I think the planning board's thoughts in that respect were, let's not be so rigid, let's give a little bit of leeway for a hotel to come in and tell us what they usually do, and for the planning board to be able to say yes or no to that. I think beyond that, what also has been recommended has been some flexibility with regard to restaurants. The restaurants, I believe, we originally said that they must occupy 50% of one of the existing buildings here. I think the planning board felt that that was restrictive, that if somebody wanted to build a new restaurant here, if somebody wanted to use a smaller than 50% section for a restaurant, if somebody wanted to build a hotel with a restaurant or incorporate a restaurant into retail, that those are all adequate and fine uses of the site. And so they wanted a relaxation of that requirement. And lastly, really where they went was, we had proposed that some of the neighborhood retail that could be used at Wilbur Hall could also take place in Kirkbride. And they just felt that Kirkbride is fine as it is now. They don't think that's an appropriate use for Kirkbride. And they really just didn't want to see it being used for small retail uses in that vein. Other than that, I really think the planning board was very supportive of the proposal, and in fact they've actually indicated that they support the adoption of the law. We also heard back from the County of Rockland. The County of Rockland had a number of comments as far as opportunities have to be given for several agencies to review this local law and comment. When they make those suggestions, they also forward the plans over to those agencies. They have also brought to our attention that the town of Haverstraw must be given an opportunity. I verified with Joan and Barbara that the notice was in fact sent to Haverstraw of this public hearing, along with directions on where the law can be found on the website. So they have been given opportunity. In terms of actual more substantive comments, they had suggested that a minimum lot area be stated for each use. And the idea is that right now Letchworth Village is pretty much located on 2 tax lots. And they saw subdivision as preceding any future development. That's actually the reason why we didn't require minimum lot areas, is we felt that the town board could, if they want, subdivide the property to make these into bite-sized pieces that prospective builders could actually buy 1 or 2 of these parcels, piece them together, and make a proposal. Beyond that, there's really very little reason to have a minimum lot size, again, because the whole underlying basis of this zoning district is that the town does own all these properties. And so you're going to be dealing with the development application as it comes in. So you'll be able to tell them you need to have more land, you need to have less land, because frankly they're going to be buying it from you. With regard to their item 6, they make a correction as to a reference in the law that will be incorporated. With regard to their number 7, this particular law provides relief from several provisions of the code. The reason why it does this is because when we started out drafting this law, we wanted it to encourage interest, encourage development. So we wanted the code to provide certainty as to what can be built. We didn't want a prospective developer to read that there were these provisions governing hotel uses, but then there might be other pieces in the code that would affect it. So we went through the code and we exempted it from several sections because frankly, most of those sections aren't relevant. And we felt this was one of them, and that has to do with restrictions on lot development in the SR and RR districts. And those are restrictions that govern development on steep slopes, primarily. And that, in fact, is what the county raises. And they suggest that there are steep slopes in the front end of this property facing Willow Grove. But In fact, they aren't steep. They're on average about 10% slopes coming up from Willow Grove. So I think that just requires a clarification on our part to let them know that this property doesn't have any steep slopes within the area that would be available for development. With regard to their 8th comment, they talk about a provision that exempts this overlay district from adhering to the viewshed protection zone, as you'll recall back from when we were doing the zoning. But this property wouldn't have been in that zone anyway. So again, it's really for clarity to make sure that somebody coming in knows that they're not going to be subject to that. The fact is, they're not in the viewshed protection area anyway, as we identified it on the map, as we were discussing during the comp plan process. Number 9, again, another exemption was the stream protection law and the wetland regulations. They do bring our attention to the fact that there is a DEC wetland that technically enters the property in the very southeast corner that's associated with the pond. Frankly, if it's a DEC regulated wetland, you can't do anything within 100 feet of it. And there really is no latitude on that. We've worked on several projects with the DEC, and they just never give latitude for disturbing the stream or wetland buffering. So we could in fact remove the provision, but again, I think it's just providing clarity to the applicant. They would still have to provide conformance with the DEC regulations, whether or not we held them with our local regulations. And our local regulations do not trump DEC's wetlands. They simply add another layer of security to the town. Should DEC allow a disturbance, the town could then come in and say, no, you can't do that. The planning board would say that. In this instance, it's really not necessary, again, because you as the governing body decide eventually when you go into contract with a potential purchaser about what can be built as well. With regard to number 10, they raise an issue of height, and specifically that we are proposing regulations to hotel height in 6 stories, where all the other uses in this district are 45 feet. And I think we had a long conversation about hotels and height here back in November. And it was really at the request or at the suggestion of this board that that's how height be dealt with. The idea being that a high-quality hotel, such as the Pearl River Hilton, the Blue Hill Hilton, is what we're looking for, and to restrict height in a manner that would require a zoning board of appeals to weigh in on variance or something to that effect wouldn't be in the interest of attracting those users to the site. That being said, there are landscape requirements as far as the appearance of the site and the landscaping of the site. And those would be relevant in the case of even a 6-story hotel. That being said, I thought it was also necessary to show the board or demonstrate the board sort of how this 6-story hotel being constructed on the site would relate to different views. And I really chose 3 representative views in this cross-section that I posted up here. And the one on top is really how the view relates to somebody driving on the Palisades Parkway. And this would be relevant coming northbound, coming over the top of the hill, as you approach the, I guess it's the Fieldstone School in Haverstraw. And you're looking off to your right. And you're actually looking further off to your right than you'd imagine. It's not like it's just over to the right. You're really looking at probably about 30 degrees off the road through trees along the parkway itself. And that's really what you're showing here. Once you're getting past that tree buffer, however, you are seeing over the school district site, over their play fields, over the soccer fields, before you get any other interposing vegetation. But there is vegetation along both sides of Willow Grove. and then the site would rise. You'd have a few buildings presumably remaining in front of this hotel, although I suppose you could locate the hotel further down the hill. It would probably be less impactful if you did so. And so what you really would end up seeing, I think, is possibly views of the hotel from the parkway through the trees at an angle, and it would be intermittent views as you're going through the trees. In terms of Willow Grove Road, it probably will be more impactful. We're going to be closer to the site. That's the second cross-section down. But you'll see that the buildings that are closer to the road, so when you're talking, this one here is actually an unnamed road. It's one of the Greek letter buildings. It's the one that's further off the road as you're coming up Patriot Hills Road. There's one that's a little deeper, and that's the one that shows up on this cross-section. And what happens is when you're looking up the road, not only do you have the vegetation right along Willow Grove Road, but you have these closer buildings that are really going to block the bottom stories of where the hotel is. And what you'd probably be left with is views of the top 2 stories of this 6-story hotel, peeking over the existing buildings that are further down the hill. Lastly, the last view I wanted to look at, even though it's less traveled, is the residents on that road that are right across the lake and the fairway there. And that's the bottom cross-section that I looked at. And I actually have not only Knapp Road, but the road directly up the hill from Knapp Road, Hidden Hill. I looked at both of those homes and how that would affect. There's actually a good amount of buffer between those homes. There's the buffer that's along the west side of Knapp Road is not quite as high as some of the trees on the west side of the fairway, but there is some lower ground story vegetation there. And then you have the golf fairway, and then you have additional trees before you hit the existing Letchworth Village site. So again, it wouldn't be a clear view of the hotel. You would probably see it, you would definitely see it in the winter months, but again, it would be a view through the trees of the building. So again, when we talk about the 6-story building, it's going to be important, regardless of what type of building is built here, that is architecturally sensitive to what's here now. Fieldstone, gambrel roofs, those are the roofs that are pitched on 4 sides or on all sides. The architecture, repeating the architecture, whether it be the arch window tops and the colonnades, that is already required by code. Architectural review is required by code, and we think that with that, we're confident that there won't be significant adverse impact to the visual resources of the area. If you disagree with that, remember, you're still lead agency under seeker, even if you've done a neg deck. If you disagree that there will be a visual impact, you must rescind that previous neg deck and require additional reviewing. But if you're confident that, again, this is going to be an isolated site, it's not going to be visible from a lot of areas, then you can proceed under that original neg deck. That being said, the purpose of tonight's meeting is really to hear from the public.
Can I ask a question on this building?
Sure.
Visualizing the building. Okay, I'm trying to think where it's going to be. Where the whole length, where the green is, you're coming up in the road there. It's going to be at the lowest level, but pretty flat there. When you're coming in the front gate, you're coming in the main road.
Which building are you
This
talking?
6-story.
I put a concept, I picked the place on the site that I thought it would be most visible. So I put it down actually right here next to the row parking, just on the edge of the row parking, which is pretty much the highest part of the site that you could put it. That is also close to the road.
So you have it on top of the high side. It's elevated.
It's 6 feet, I put it 72 feet above the ground. I put just a cubicle building. It's not going to be built that way.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But I put a cubicle building 4 times the size of Kirkbride footprint. right at that site, and that's how I assess the impact.
Assuming, trying to visualize it, assuming that was the case, where would parking be, front or back? Wouldn't it have to be in the front if it's set back?
Again, I mean, the idea that I approached it with was to put a rectangle, a box, where I thought it would be most visible, and then do the impact analysis from there. I think somebody coming in would have, first of all, they'd be coming in with a much more attractive building than a box. And then, yeah, they would probably look to build, I would imagine they'd look to put the parking behind the site. They probably want something beautiful to drive up to. You can do a wedding, something like that. But that would be up to the applicant, and that would be up to you, frankly, because again, this is not going to happen in a vacuum. You're going to go out, you're going to market the site to potential partners, and when you go and when they bring proposals to you to buy the site, you're not going to say yes or no sight unseen. You're probably going to want to see visuals of what they're looking to build.
This is just a massing and a sightline study. So, I mean, the parking can go anywhere. I mean, you can have a L-shaped building and, you know, there's a lot.
No, what I'm saying, the train, the way it is, like, got the pro shop, the clubhouse is elevated. You're going up the hill there.
Right.
And a day like today, you'll see it because of the way the weather is. And it's, but in the summertime, you don't even see that. If you're coming up the Palisades, you can see the high poles, only because it's opened up in the trees.
Right.
So the only place you're really seeing is either by the pond or, you know, Willow Grove Road looking in. So but being elevated up, like you say, in a higher thing, if you're putting it like kind of flat down behind like one of those greens there, and then there's the hill behind it, it keeps it lower, and it's more hidden than it is, for example, putting up like where the clubhouse is.
Right. I mean, you have, you know, they can put in berms, they can dig down.
Yeah, I'm trying to visualize, I mean, this is a nice picture, but.
Yeah, it's basically, I took what I felt was the worst case. I mean, how can I make this as visible as possible, and then see how it related to the surrounding area? It can't go, you know, it can't go any higher really than where we are here now.
Right.
So.
But it could go lower.
Oh, certainly. If it went right behind Kirkbride, it would certainly be less visible. You would have the trees right there blocking.
Kind of where you have it, Max. I mean, it's really close to that area.
It's actually right where, across from the courthouse.
Okay.
But it could go on this side as well. You know, I mean, if you wanted to do something in connection with the golf course and the catering hall up there,
It could go-
you could put something right on this side.
Provided that I think we raised it before as far as whether or not the town has taken recreational monies for this building, and that's really a legal question for the attorney about whether you would be able to sell row. But certainly any of the other buildings that you haven't used or haven't used for recreational purposes are available for development, so you could certainly have put it right next to this building. Or where the courthouse is, or across the street from the courthouse, which is the location I chose.
Just to make it perfectly clear, we do not have anything lined up for this property right now. This is something that we want to make sure we're ready in case we do have someone. You mentioned a few, views from the Palisades Parkway, you know, that we're, you know, way across from Haverstruck. You mentioned we have to look over some trees, some, you know, other buildings that are over there. You forgot to mention that if the state gets their way and the town of Haverstruck gets their way, they'll be looking through Ferris wheels and big water slides as well.
Yeah.
Just wanted to bring that up.
Although you would probably get a hotel very quickly thereafter.
Well, this is what we're talking about. If we were to ever receive, you know, if Haverstraw were to receive the Legoland, which the state seems to be pushing very hard. I mean, they just got $500,000 to take down a few buildings over there. I know that I believe Legoland got $3 million from the state for some kind of grant. So someone's pushing it, and listen, if it works, you know, we'll find out. We're going to learn, again, we're going to find out if this can possibly be done. Would it be a great thing to bring, to fix our parkway and our infrastructure and our streets around here? Hey, that's all great to anybody. Let's make sure it works first. However, yes, if there is something like a Legoland across the street, that certainly increases the value of our property across our street, you know, here. So that's why we want to be ready, we want to be prepared, we want to make sure that a developer is not deterred from coming here simply because they're going to go through this process for the next 2 years. We want to be ready and waiting for it. So I thank Max, I think you're doing a great job on this board as well. It's been a long time, so at this time, unless any of the board members have questions, we'll open it up to the public.
Mr. Simeon, do you have a question?
Thank you.
And if you could just state your name for the record.
Of course. My name is Frank Simeone. I live with my wife Jane Brown on Willow Grove Road. It's just up from Letchworth. We're kind of next door to Dunkin' Donuts. I have just a couple of points I'd like to make. The first is a minor item. I read the Turner Builders proposal. As I see it, well, it refers to Letchworth as having been a psychiatric hospital. I think people who are from here know that's not true, it never has been. It was for the developmentally disabled. It's a minor point, but to people who've lived on this road for many years, and I've only lived here about 35, I'm not one of the old timers. I think it's important that the original use of the campus be noted correctly. I also know some of the blogs that I've read, some disparaging things said about what went on at Letchworth. I think those are misinformed also. People who I bought from, the people who I know, were very proud of what Letchworth was. And they never liked to use the fact that the residents at the Letchworth facility as a crutch or in any way to, let's say, disparage Letchworth generally. I remember when I first moved in, I was concerned about having sidewalks. Your chief of police probably knows me as someone who's maintained a long file with your police department on littering, noise, particularly motorcycles on the weekend. Take the opportunity to note that. We have a noise ordinance in this town, it is not enforced, and most particularly speeding on Willow Grove Road. When we first moved in, and there were plans to change the gas station, which used to be called Phillips, to the shortstop that it became, I wanted to suggest that if hearing such as this, that with the lack of sidewalks on Willow Grove Road and the fact that there were still residents, it might not be smart to have an increased use, at least not too much. And one of the residents who, neighbor of ours, warned me off against saying anything at all about Letchworth and the residents as part of an argument that I might make.